after 10 years of pregnancy, but gave birth to a sword, but a cursed sword, the kind that kills whoever holds it. The first unlucky guy died as soon as he got it, and became the nourishment of the sword after death. The second unlucky guy who just took over, was also targeted by his younger brother while having fun, was attacked by the younger brother behind him, and was stabbed with a sword, but was dodged. Yi Fan, who had long been unhappy with Wang Ba, supported him, and directly gave him a boost of courage, but the younger brother was too weak, was punched and flew away. Yi Fan wanted to give his little brother an attribute bonus, but found that the sword master was still the turtle. Non-sword masters can only use blood succession. The younger brother with bloodline ability became stronger. He rushed towards the turtle with a whoosh, but was kicked 10 meters away. Looking at the little brother lying on the ground, Wang Ba grinned lewdly, "And your sister will also protect you." And Yi Fan could no longer tolerate this scumbag. Yi Fan directly launched his ultimate move, Phantom Dance. Wang Ba was instantly chopped into 18 pieces, the kind that can be deep-fried after breading. Yi Fan looked at the cruel head. Tears of injustice flowed from the corners of his mouth. The younger brother was so happy. He finally avenged his wife's murder. He watched the sword in his hand gradually fall into madness. The guard in the remote death row prison was woken up by a bag of gold coins. The man directly said he wanted to buy the death row inmate, and the guard was happy to do so. Not only did he get money, but also got rid of the prisoner. The younger brother is harvesting wildly inside, and Yi Fan secretly upgrades. The younger brother's mood gradually stabilized. Yi Fan is learning new skills. Suddenly there was a noise outside. With a swish, the younger brother flew out, and landed gracefully. The mercenary leader Zhang, who was demanding the sword. Of course, the younger brother refused. He went up and did some operations. He was so powerful, but he was beaten up and couldn't take it anymore. Yi Fan covered his lower body and shouted, "Be gentle. It's going to break." And Zhang, who is approaching. So Yi Fan quickly took out the evolution points. He was about to use excavator. The system prompts that the skill needs 15 seconds to load. The next second, his younger brother was cut in two. Ding dong, the unfortunate sword is completed by 3/5. At this moment, Yi Fan felt like 1,000 horses running. In just a few days, 3 unlucky guys have died. I spent 10 years in my mother's womb, just to give birth to the earth's posture, but was cut off by my impatient father. When I regained consciousness, I turned into a sword. I only remembered my name was Yi Fan. I was stuck in a stone for 10,000 years. In these 10,000 years, I can't think of anyone more unlucky than me. If so, please let me know in the comments. Until this day, I finally met the first unlucky guy. Zhang, who was being chased, pulled the sword out of the stone. Instantly, the sword was successfully activated and bound. Yi Fan, who had been aggrieved for 10,000 years, finally had the form of a ghost. When he was thinking about how to lead his master to the peak of life, Zhang was poisoned and fell to the ground. The flying sword just came to a halt, cooling. The first unlucky guy passed away tragically. The leader who came was thinking about this strange scene, while the little brother next to him mocked Zhang. To use such a broken sword, Yi Fan felt the deep malice of fate. He was reincarnated as a sword and was still despised. The system prompts that he successfully absorbs the spirit, and gained 100 essence power. The broken sword evolved into the soul-hiding sword. The man laughed wildly at the sword in his hand. The second unlucky guy was bound successfully, named Wang Ba, second order without master. While enjoying the flattery of his minions, a subordinate was suddenly killed by a third-order demon. As the leader, he naturally wanted to avenge his men, so he stabbed the monster with a sword. Yi Fan was also pulled by the sword, but Wang Ba killed the monster with one sword. Yi Fan was surprised to find that he gained 300 evolution points and unlocked a new skill movement. He immediately spent 100 evolution points to kill Wang Ba. When he changed the master, the sword only trembled slightly, which made Wang Ba excited, thinking that he had gained the sword's approval. Yi Fan just wanted to say, "Refund, refund." The remaining evolution points can only be used to change skills. Wang Ba also felt the sword's breath getting stronger. The camera turns. Wang Ba carried the head of the former sword master to claim a reward from a mysterious man. This man is really bad to the core. He even didn't spare his brother's wife, and even wants to play poker with his brother's sister. Uncle can bear it. Even my aunt can't bear it. After receiving the reward, Wang Ba went to the blacksmith shop to make a scabbard for me, but because my sharpness is too strong, there was no scabbard worthy of me. I thought to myself secretly, as an excellent person like me, I would be so brilliant wherever I go. At this time, several of Wang Ba's men came to ask for their pay. Wang Ba casually threw a few gold coins to them. We lost several brothers, and only gave them a few coins. Like beggars? This Wang Ba is really stingy. He has no sense of chivalry. The camera turns. We come to the part that everyone hates. Hee, let's have some fun. While secretly enjoying it, while complaining about how blind he was, I made a contract with a man like Wang Ba who doesn't strive. When Wang Ba was about to climax, an uninvited guest ran in. Tianjin Exine, what are you doing? You're disturbing my spring night. Tianjin raised his sword. The reward is 100 gold coins. You only gave me 5 gold coins. I said you have bad breath. Don't talk to me like that. For such a stingy and disloyal person, you can use it. I'll cut him, and I support you. Seeing Tian Jinshin's sword floating uncertainly, I used my movement skill to give him some confidence. Well, fitness. High-frequency vibration. The sword moved. The sword recognized me. Before Tian Jinshin was happy, was punched and flew away by Wang Ba unexpectedly. He flew out of the house on his knees and hands. Tian Jinshin, with your level, you still want to fight me? Wang Ba, I will take revenge for killing my wife today. So you already know. By the way, your woman tastes quite good. Hearing what Wang Ba had done, which made her very angry, she immediately checked the system to see how to make Tian Jinxing with the sword, how to enhance his attributes. However, the system informed that the current bound building is Wang Ba. Only when Wang Ba dies can a new building be bound. That is to say, others holding the sword have no effect. Seeing Tian Jinshin being trampled under by Wang Ba and being constantly ravaged, I frantically flipped through the system. I finally found a skill called Soul Drain, which can extract the soul from the blood and strengthen the user in a short time. So I used this skill. After Jinshin touched Tian Jinxing's blood, the blood was absorbed by Jinshin and slowly disappeared. At this time, Tian Jinxing's eyes turned red and suddenly felt his power keep surging. Then he kicked Wang Ba away with one kick. Confused, Wang Ba shouted, "What's going on?" At this time, Tian Jinxing also realized that the sword can absorb blood and give strength. So he cut his wrist and injected more blood into the sword, and his whole body glowed blue. The attribute was enhanced again. He held the sword tightly and swung it towards Wang Ba. Although his attributes have been enhanced, he was still no match for Wang Ba. Wang Ba leaned forward and easily dodged it. Then he kicked with his foot, which made Tian Jinxing fly several meters away and hit the wall and spat blood. Wang Ba walked up unhurriedly. Indeed a waste is a waste. I heard you have a sister, right? She will be my next target. Seeing Wang Ba's ugly face repeatedly disgusted me, so I activated the Phantom Dance of the Blade. To know the future development, stay tuned for the sequel. This man is really bad to the core. He even didn't spare his brother's wife, and even wants to play poker with his brother's sister. It's really intolerable, and even his aunt can't bear it. So I activated the Phantom Dance of the Sword. Xiaotian turned into a lightning, with lightning speed like the bell ringing, and slashed dozens of times on Wang Ba. After a burst of smoke, Wang Ba was gone. I was amazed at how cruel Phantom Dance was, since the Sword Master was killed by me. So I retrieved the Golden Soul. I gained 200 evolution points, and also unlocked the achievement of the Unfortunate Sword. I'm speechless. This Sword Master can also unlock achievements. There must be something wrong with this system. Xiaotian on the side roared, I did it. I finally got revenge. Yes, as long as there is a divine sword, I can do anything. At this time, Oda gradually became obsessed, and became hideous. From the sword's breath, he felt that as long as he kept bleeding, it can continuously become stronger. He went to the prison and bribed the guards. Can I buy the life of the prisoner in the death row? The officer was overjoyed. There is really a fool who comes to give money. They were worried about no one to deal with the death row. After a few sticks of incense, I was promoted several levels, but Xiaotian's mental state was distorted a bit. After a period of rest, I realized that Xiaotian was influenced by the evil spirit. He was influenced by evil spirit and changed his temperament. Fortunately, compared with the Western prisoner's horror, his emotions have stabilized. This is quite reassuring. At this time, Xiaotian seemed to sense something, and rushed out with his sword. A man with the same hairstyle as the Lion King. A man named Zhang who shouted, "You don't look like a good guy. Kid, it's not good to kill and rob. Hand over the sword and the turtle's gold coins. I might consider letting you go." Xiaotian, maybe he was carried away by the confidence of defeating Wang Ba. He greeted him with a standard Mandarin greeting. Then he wanted to give the other a loving hug. Who is the Golden Lion King? He thought I haven't asked you for benefits yet, but you're being a hooligan to me. You're looking for trouble in the middle of the night. Then he took out his beloved sword and knocked Xiaotian away with one hit. This powerful blow shocked me. There was a crack on the blade. Xiaotian was no longer arrogant as before, and became embarrassed, crying out to me in fear. "Shenjian, help me kill him." The situation was very serious. I knew if I didn't act, Xiaotian would be doomed. I hurriedly flipped through the system. I used evolution points to open the skill again. The system prompts that this skill is loading, and it needs to wait 15 seconds. However, Xiaotian couldn't survive the 15 seconds, and was taken away by Zhang Hu cleanly. The damn system sent the achievement of Sword Master's death. The progress of the Sword of Unknown Destiny is 5/3. I'm speechless. My achievements all depend on the host's life. It's the white-haired person sending the black-haired person. Is this my destiny? After Zhang Hu dealt with Xiaotian, he asked his men to search inside and out, and took all the good stuff away. But he thought I wasn't as amazing as the rumors said. It's not worth it. You are really short-sighted. You only deserve to brush the big sword. But another younger brother was like a prophet. He loved it. I said life is never short of beauty, but a lack of eyes to discover beauty. Look, this is called vision. I will definitely surprise them in the future. With the system prompt to bind the building, Yilan's contract is completed. Whether the new building can survive the 4th episode. To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. The man who giggles and drools when seeing a beauty, and a man drooling, is my 4th master. He looks harmless. I was devastated. He is a pure loser. Could I be bound to such a person for a lifetime? I was downcast in thought. When will this day end? That day the leader Golden Lion gathered everyone. Because he took on a big order. He confidently announced. The target this time is the same mercenary group Shadow. The little brother next to him heard it. He leaned over to the Lion King boss. This is a bit dangerous. Please think twice. The Lion King was furious. He slapped him backhandedly. How dare you be a coward under my command? I, Zhang Hu, will never fight a battle without certainty. I have already sent someone to be an insider. All brothers are ready to catch them all tonight. At night, the Lord also wanted to make a contribution tonight. So he found a remote place to swing his sword. I thought, what's the use of swinging your sword like this? While the Lord was practicing swordsmanship seriously, a foot suddenly flew and kicked him down. He turned around. It was the guy who was just favored by the Golden Lion King. He shouted, if you don't like it, come and fight me. This guy is really arrogant. He's taking out his anger here. I just thought, who could stand this anger? I had to get some face back. He turned around. The Lord continued to practice swordsmanship as if nothing happened. You are too cowardly. Be tough. Looking at his operation, I really want to cry. Can this guy really help me get evolution points? What I said came true. This system just loves to go against me. This kind of practice can also give me evolution points. Seeing the Lord's serious and hardworking appearance. Anyway, compared to the previous main attacker, who wasn't even a Chuji dancer, he is much more honest. At least he is a filial person. In that case, let's work hard together. The camera turns. We come to the night of the action. Master Yilan, who looked flustered, but now he was hesitant, thinking that he came here to make money, to buy a big house for his mother. There's no need to risk your life. Keep the green mountains, and there will be firewood. He turned around and wanted to escape, but was squeezed onto the battlefield by the charging crowd. He had to pretend to be brave. The old father is really worried to turn white. If he really fought, he would definitely die. Although Lord Yilan is a bit cowardly, but I still appreciate his honesty, so I used my movement skill to cheer him up. Yilan felt the vibration from the distance. She felt my encouragement. She swept away her panic, and her eyes became firm. With Zhang Hu's charge command, Yilan lured with unprecedented courage to attack the enemy. I saw his full force was blocked by the enemy. Just as the stalemate continued, I used my movement skill again. I encouraged him with all my strength. Under my encouragement, Yilan burst out with unprecedented power, killing a first-class dancer. And then he easily killed the second dancer, as if he had changed into a different person. At this time, I also worried that the murderous aura would affect his mind. Seeing him getting more and more brutal, I knew my worry was unnecessary. He was not affected. He was completely controlled. At this time, a hurried footstep came from behind. I saw a person with extraordinary skills, cutting the Yilan master's bow with a sword. Whether the new main attacker can survive smoothly. To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. You may not believe it. This man who drools and giggles when seeing beauties, and the man who giggles, is my main attacker, and he is currently the only one. Buildings of level 1. Can he break the curse of my master? Yilan blocked the fatal blow, but was kicked away heavily, and spat blood on the spot. An unbearable pain, seeing the opponent approaching step by step, as if he was on the edge of the gate of hell. Fortunately, I activated Phantom Object at this time, and the Lord seemed to have cheated, and instantly swung countless slashes. After an Aurora movie, a hip-hop dancer fell to the ground. I successfully gained 100 evolution points. Seeing the decisive and brave look of the Lord, I felt that I had misjudged him before. I shouldn't have called him a loser. On the other hand, Zhang Hu the leader, also successfully killed the enemy leader. The shadow mercenaries no longer exist. This is my pleasant surprise. I can actually evolve. With the red light from the sword body, I evolved into the shadow invisible sword, and its quality became sea level. I also gained 2 passive skills, blood sucking and master release. Obviously, I became stronger. The Lord also felt the subtle change of the sword. The camera turns, because the Lord killed 6 people in the action. He also received a 600 gold coin reward. In this way, he can also realize his dream of buying a big house for his mother. However, the achievement were envied by 2 extras. They whispered secretly, the Lord used to be a coward who, and didn't fight back when scolded. How could he suddenly become so brave? There must be something strange, and saw the magic sword on his waist. So they followed the Lord for several streets. When the master was practicing swordsmanship, they found that the sword made the Lord powerful. He didn't know the danger was approaching. The Lord who was approaching, he was concentrating on exploring the powerful strike last night, and he kept trying tirelessly. Finally, after many efforts, he found the trick. Even a short practice the whole person will be exhausted. So cultivation is not an easy thing. The supporting actor saw the Lord become stronger through the sword, regretting treating the sword as scrap metal. Now he regrets it. He regretted it. So the two began to pay attention to the sword. They first stole the Lord's bounty, and then asked the Lord to exchange the sword. Such despicable and shameless behavior. Only these two could do it. Can the Lord keep the sword while and get his money back? To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. You may not believe it. This man who drools and giggles when he sees a beauty, is my master. Moreover, is currently the only one who can survive level 1. Can he break the curse of my master killing? One day, 2 extras stole the reward of the master, to exchange for the sword in the master's hand. Seeing these despicable memes, it really proves that good people are bullied, horses are ridden. You know, after the last operation, Yilan is now very different from before. With your 2 rotten potatoes and stinky eggs, that's like looking for shit in the toilet. So I angrily launched a mobile attack. I signaled the Lord to teach them a lesson, but the master still persuaded them kindly, asking the extras to return the money. Seeing this, the extras became even more arrogant and mocking. They started to get arrogant after making a contribution. At this time, the Lord finally couldn't hold back his power. Before the extras could react, he held a sword against his forehead and warned them to return the money to him quickly. The extras still refused to change. This time, the two were even more unethical. They attacked Yilan together. The Lord held the sword with both hands and swung it hard, and the two were knocked flying. Then he approached one of them at a very fast speed, and then cut the sword in the other's hand behind. Neither attack was a lethal one. They just used the sword to hold their foreheads. Since you don't want to pay it back, then I have to use force. You return the money to me, or I'll take it myself. You'd better choose one. The extras who were trembling with fear, and asked his companion to return the money. After getting the money back, he didn't pursue it. I think not killing these 2 scumbags. It's a bargain to exchange them for evolution points. However, I have to praise Yilan for taking the lead. You did a great job. The main attacker recalled what happened today. It was a big deal. And he felt that he would never sell me anyway. He felt that as long as I was there, no one would bully him in the future. And he also had the opportunity to be on par with those geniuses. Finally, I have a chance to realize his childhood dream of being a martial artist. I made him regain his dream. I also began to envy him. After all, he still has dreams. But I don't even know where to go. But I can also understand his feelings. Once people have a goal, they will become stronger and stronger. The camera turns. Zhu Gongyi was still doing chores in the group. The extra who robbed the sword suddenly told him that the leader was looking for him. Obviously, the extra actor held a grudge and told the leader the secret of the sword. I can only blame myself for being too soft-hearted. A sense of inexplicable unease came to his mind. So he went to meet the leader, Zhang Hu. Zhang Hu pretends to and cared about the master's sword practice. Then he asked the Lord to give him the sword. The Lord knew that Zhang Hu has already had the idea of the sword. Facing the powerful Zhang Hu, he could only pretend to be calm and agree to hand it over. After leaving Zhang Hu's sight, he ran and fled Buti. From his panicked expression, he wouldn't give the sword to anyone, whether Yilan can keep the sword or not, and escape this disaster. To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. This leader, a moment ago, praised his subordinate for working hard, but the next moment he arranged for his men to stab him. He is a two-faced scumbag. It turned out that Zhang Hu had already seen from his expression that the Lord wouldn't hand over the sword obediently, so he secretly arranged for his men to keep an eye on him. No matter what means, he must get the sword. The Lord, who returned to his residence, hurriedly packed his bags and wanted to escape before Zhang Hu took action. I had a premonition that, from the development of the situation, that today's piece was doomed. As soon as I finished speaking, my worries came true. As soon as he stepped out the door, a group of extras had been waiting for a long time. Why do you miss home so soon? Yilan, hand over the sword if you know what's good for you, or you'll suffer. Looking at the number of people in front of me, the situation is getting worse. You told the secret. Since the leader wants it, then this sword is the leader's sword. A bow. Go and get the leader's sword. Hand it over, Yilan. You know that. This is the captain's secret. Facing the dragon slayer's aggressive approach, and kept approaching, the master was a little at a loss, and kept backing away, and accidentally knocked down the gold coins on the table. With the sound of the collision of the gold coins, the extra thought the Lord was going to resist. He drew his sword without hesitation. Fortunately, the Lord reacted quickly, blocked the attack, and pushed him back. The leader asked the extras to surround the house, to prevent the Lord from escaping. Then, taking advantage of the Lord's inattention, he threw the dagger in his hand to attack unexpectedly. Fortunately, they were all blocked by the Lord. Then, taking advantage of the gap in the master's defense, and continued to chase one after another, the Lord just dodged blindly, and had no intention of fighting them. The leader watching the show mocked Yilan. You idiot! The leader is a third-order dancer. Who to provoke? You'll suffer when you provoke him. However, the stupid ones didn't know that. The master dodged consciously, He came to the window and took the opportunity to jump out. He waved his sword while running to drive away the guards outside. He cut a bloody path. The situation in front of them. There are soldiers everywhere. The only way out was the green forest. So he ran towards it. At this time, the stubborn extra chased up to attack the lord from behind, but was corroded by the black gas from the sword, and immediately covered his face and screamed in pain. And the lord took the opportunity to kill him, and then escaped. This incident reached Zhang Hu's ears. Zhang Hu, who was furious, would not let Yilan go. Yilan offended the third-order dancer Zhang Hu. Yilan's master also embarked on a road of no return. Whether the lord can escape from Zhang Hu's clutches and escape this disaster? To know the future development, stay tuned for the sequel. You may not believe it. Last second, my lord was a coward who would giggle at the sight of a beauty, but the next second, he became a one-armed Yanghua. Since he couldn't find the whereabouts of Yilan, Zhang Hu was very angry. Knowing that Yilan escaped into the green forest outside the city, he said thoughtfully, calculating the time, "It's time for that every month again." He then sent people to guard the exit of the forest. "Don't go in." Yilan, who escaped to the green forest. Yilan can finally take off her guard. She sighed that in this world of the jungle, if you don't become stronger, you will die. What should she do now? She can only take refuge in the forest for the time being. Just then, a sudden roar came. The lord was highly alert. What's that? A group of boars suddenly appeared around. Alien beasts. The iron-haired pig, as the name suggests. It's a kind of monster with a hard body surface that can withstand metal weapons. Yilan looked at the mini pigs and his mouth curved up and was overjoyed. He was worried about no place to fight monsters. The second senior brother delivered himself. Then a set of gorgeous and chic combos. He sent the second senior brother to the west. Normally, the second senior brother would avoid people. What happened? At this time, various roars came from all directions, and even the earth was shaking. A terrifying atmosphere came towards me. I realized it was Socha. This is the green forest. There is a period of wild beasts running amok every year, and they are in groups. The lethality is conceivable. Facing the sudden attack of the beast, Yilan fought and looked for a safe place, focusing on the immediate danger, ignoring the crisis in the air. A huge spider attacked silently and took away one of Yilan's arms. I thought the master would die here, but with strong willpower, he killed all the attacking beasts. She survived. After 3 days and nights of fighting, the ground was littered with corpses and blood, and his clothes were stained with blood. The aura it emits makes the beasts fear and avoid it. To avoid it, Yilan Lord has also changed from the beginning, to become stronger and stronger step by step. I also luckily evolved from this experience. Evolved into a B-level weapon, the Streamlight Shadow Sword. Unlike previous evolutions, it can enhance the owner's all attributes. Yilan also felt from the sword body, felt the power amplification brought by the sword. The camera turns. The enemies who were waiting outside found that the tide ended. Under the command of the leader, entered the forest. They must find the swordman alive, and see the corpse. However, Yilan had already taken advantage of the night, escaped from the verdant forest. Whether Yilan can escape the turmoil of the tide, escape this pursuit? To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. You may not believe it. Just a second ago my master was a coward who would giggle at the sight of a beauty, but the next second he became a one-armed Yanghua. After Yilan escaped the pursuit, disguised and came to an inn to take a break, but met several extras who wanted to kill him. The extras were discussing, although several teams were sent to the green forest to search. They still didn't find the body of Yilan master, but instead found many children of the strange beasts. They guessed that Yilan was also buried in the valley of the sea. At this time, the leader of the extras boasted about his plan. Originally, he wanted to trick the lord's mother to Sirius City, and then use it as a threat to force him out. But the plan failed, so he was brutally killed, and feed them to dogs, and laughed at him begging for his life. This inhumane behavior was admired by several other extras. It's really birds of a feather, and people in groups, and snakes and rats in one nest, which is really hateful. I didn't want to fight against the mercenary group, and just wanted to escape this storm. Yilan master, who wanted to live incognito, when he heard that his lonely mother was captured, he was already furious. Although disaster doesn't affect family, but now he was killed brutally, and fed to the dogs inhumanely. This is intolerable. He couldn't hold back his inner rage anymore. Then he shouted, "Since I'm not dead, then today is your death day." Several extras. The night came suddenly and the master's chin. But seeing the master's broken arm, they thought they were lucky today, and they were arrogant enough to kill him. They rushed forward one after another. The angry master swung his divine sword. Before the extras could get any closer, the sword fell in an instant. The two idiots in front of him were beheaded. The leader of the extras on the other side, seeing this, was already scared to pee his pants. He immediately knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. "No, I didn't do those things. We're all ordered by Zhang Hu." The sinister and cunning minions deliberately begged for mercy, but actually took the opportunity to attack, throwing smoke bombs to block the master's sight. Then a rabbit slipped out the door, quickly fired a signal arrow into the sky. He proudly said that the people in the group saw it. If they want to see, they will all come here. See where you can escape this time. With the colorful light from the signal key, the leader of the minions also lost his arrogance. Yelan Master quietly awaits the arrival of the mercenary group. To take revenge, King Yelan avenge her mother's murder and get away. To know the future development, please stay tuned. The sequel is my fourth sword master. He survived level 6. However, this time he became a one-armed Yanghua. Can he break the curse of me killing my masters? A light footstep fell. Zhang Hu appeared in front of him, seeing the corpses all over the ground. Angry Zhang Hu said contemptuously, "You're a piece of shit. You killed more than 60 of my brothers. It seems that the sword cannot be underestimated. I advise you to surrender, or don't blame me for my 18-meter-long sword." Facing the strong oppression of Zhang Hu, Lord Lan also realized the gap between them. Now he can only pin his hopes on the sword. I prayed for strength, the power to defeat him. Please assist me. Please give me power. I know that Zhang Hu is a tough guy who can't even beat a third-tier dancer. Lan has no chance of winning. Now defeating Zhang is the only wish of the Lord. The Blood Soul skill used by the previous Xiaotian has also reached the maximum level. Only with this skill can I have a chance to beat Zhang. I also hope that the Blue Lord can survive. So I did my best to use the Blood Soul skill. With the activation of the skill, I unlocked the hidden skill Bloodthirsty Rage. This skill requires the Sword Master to have a determination to die, to be activated, and it requires sacrificing one's own life force to obtain powerful strength. With the blessing of the Divine Sword, quickly attacked Zhang Hu. Zhang Hu calmly took out his big sword and slashed towards the direction where the Lord was coming, and deflected the Lord's angry strike. Taking advantage of the Lord's hesitation, he swung his sword with both hands, knocking the Lord away, and spat blood on the spot, and fell to the ground. He roared that killing you is easier than killing an ant. I won't die. I must kill you. Before I die. Yelan's powerful obsession activates Bloodthirsty Rage, and a terrifying red light radiated from his body. As the light broke through the clouds, a red lightning flashed by, leaving a deep cut on Zhang Hu's shoulder. Zhang Hu trembled and said, Tree, what's going on? What's going on? Is it because of the power that sword brings you? Without that sword, you're just a piece of trash. Then he used his own trick. A blue lightning fell from the sky, and hit Yelan's master, and made a huge explosion. The Lord burned all his vitality, and forcibly endured the attack. Then he swung his best strike. At the moment of contact, Zhang Hu's big sword broke into 2 pieces. His body was pierced. He was lying on the ground bleeding continuously. Seeing the bad situation, Zhang Hu began to beg for mercy. However, the Lord killed him cleanly, to honor his mother's spirit in heaven, and then he peacefully fell down. At this time, it started to rain heavily, as if it was cleansing the sinful rivers and lakes. Yelan was the one who stayed with me the longest, and the one I wanted to assist from the bottom of my heart. However, he still couldn't make it to the end. Who will be the next leader? To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. This man found his wife playing poker with someone, and the next moment he gave his wife away. The guy in front of us, who didn't receive protection fees, who was beaten up and bruised, is my 5th master Ma Honghu. I respect him as LV Gong. As for why, I guess you can also know. Lawyer Ma Honghu always, or retort, he only dares to curse people behind their backs. No one can do that. Just a few days ago, Lev Gong sneaked into the just-fought courtyard to steal. Strangely, when being bullied he was cowardly, but he was courageous when stealing. If he could reverse it, he would be a hero. He mustered up the courage. He took it from the dry corpse of the Knight's End. He is a guy who values money more than life. He wasn't afraid of being punished for stealing from the dead. After successfully binding the sword master, I found that he was the weakest master among the masters. Even the master of Yelan wasn't as cowardly as him. Just after complaining about him, he was going to sell me to pay off his debts. He is really a money-obsessed guy. The camera shifted. Lev Gong returned to his doorstep. Before entering the door, he shouted to his wife, I'm hungry. Hurry up and cook. There's a big deal later. Later, he will go to the casino to gamble. As soon as he kicked the door open, the kind-hearted master, and directly gave him a dazzling green hat. He saw his wife and a tall man were playing poker. Seeing the scene in front of him, the green worker was shocked and angry. You 2 adulterers and whores. You're playing poker behind my back in broad daylight. It's okay to play poker. And didn't change the place. And didn't lock the door. The 2 people in front of him were not panicked. Still flirting with each other, as if no one else was there. It seems that they have rehearsed before. Then the man said, this is your useless husband. Then he kicked the green bowman directly and kicked him away. Then he stepped on the green bow's head. He said arrogantly, I heard that I robbed your woman. I stole your woman. And give you 1,000 gold coins. Your wife is mine. A bag of coins was thrown in the green worker's face. Then he took his wife and left with arrogance. Although Lev Gong said, what's so great about having some money? Get out of here with this guy. But his heart was already overjoyed. What a useless family. Not long after, 3 people came outside, shouting Ma, Where is the treasure you want to sell? I just saw on the road. Saw Huang Qingxi hugging your woman. Why did your woman finally leave you a loser? Why does the room smell so bad? Could they have had a stand here? It stinks inside. Bring out the stuff quickly. They mocked Wolfgang one after another. Wolfgang felt there were thousands of alpacas galloping in his heart, holding the sword, with a serious expression, and thoughtful. What will Wolfgang do? To know what will happen next, please look forward to the sequel. This is my 5th sword master. His poor wife just ran away with someone, and then his home was burned down by his creditors. Seeing Wolfgang's eager look, I used my movement skill to cheer him up. But as soon as I finished cheering him up, he put away his supernatural powers, and became a slave-like appearance, bowing and nodding. Gentlemen, I'm sorry, that baby seems to have been stolen, and couldn't find it. The scarred man in red was immediately unhappy. He kicked the green bowman. It's gone. So how do you pay back the money? How dare you play us? I think you don't want to live. I'll burn down your house. Then they angrily walked out. You're really a flexible person. Last episode you all took weapons, but they were still cowards. But now you're begging them to let you go. Isn't this self-deception? As expected, they set the house on fire as they went out. During the process they shouted, if you can't pay, we'll burn you to death. This LV Gong is also a talent. He didn't run away even though the house was on fire. And still trying to save it, the fire grew bigger and bigger. And in an instant, it spread throughout the house. It was too late to run at this time. Seeing the desperate Wolfgang, I knew if I didn't act, he would be a barbecue. So I used my movement skill. When Wolfgang touched the divine sword, he felt his power was constantly increasing. The evil spirit from the sword also made him crazy and bloodthirsty. Then he swung his sword, the shock wave accompanied by the collapse of the house, causing a huge explosion. The man with the scar, who set the fire, just turned around. Wolfgang quickly emerged from the fire, screaming, you all die for me. Seeing this, the scarred man didn't want to lose face. He raised his fist as big as a casserole and rushed towards Wolfgang. However, at this time, Wolfgang had already gone mad. He slashed at the scarred man's neck with the sword. Before the scarred man could react, he touched the green bough with his hand, holding the sword and laughing strangely. The other 2 extras saw the scene in front of them, trembling with fear. Before they could escape, they were killed with a white knife and a red knife. He was neatly taken away by the bloodthirsty Wolfgang. Watching his operation, I had a little change of mind about him. He is still capable. After the evil spirit dissipated, the green worker looked at the burning house. He realized that he killed the scarred man. The mastermind behind the murder of several people would not let him go easily, so he found a remote place to hide. After half a month of hard practice, with golden light emitting from his whole body, his strength reached the peak of a first-order dancer. He confidently went out. He decided to find the Jin family casino that burned down his house, and the royal family who took his wife for revenge. When passing by the destroyed employer, he met the extras who were looking for him. Can Wolfgang avenge his shame and live smoothly? To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. This man, because of a woman and a house, has now become a murderous demon. The extra was startled by the sudden appearance of Wolfgang. Ma Honghu and Lu Gong grinned strangely. Are you looking for me? What do you want from me? The extra looked at the green worker and said angrily, you're such a coward. Come here quickly. Where are Scar and the others? I remember they finally came here to find you. The green worker pretended to think, and twisted his head, and said with a smile, where did they go? Do you want to know? He smiled. They went to see the king of hell. As soon as he finished speaking, he swung his sword, and saw blood splashing. Several extras were dismembered. I was surprised to see him so ruthless, but also so decisive in killing. I thought that evil spirit not only made people bloodthirsty, but also directly change a person's personality. The camera turns. LV Gong came to his first stop of revenge, Jin Family Casino, with several bold bets. The gold coins on the table multiplied several times. He thought he could cause trouble by losing money, but he kept winning. I wondered if it was the shadow arrow, and the attribute of increasing luck in gambling. Haven't I found the wealth code? Seeing the more and more gold coins on the Green Palace's table, the old man in the dice game's face darkened. Everyone, please give me Jin-chan a face. Today we are closed. I have some personal matters to deal with. After the crowd dispersed, Jin-chan snapped his fingers, summoned several minions with knives and guns, and then surrounded the Wolfgang gang. Ma, don't say I didn't give you a chance. Jin, don't touch this money. Get out of the casino. I'll let this go. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. Wolfgang sneered. How do you mean? Do you know how the Scar died? Jin trembled with fright. He angrily crushed the walnut in his hand, and let his men kill him. Seeing the minions swarming up, Wolfgang deliberately curled up his body, pretending to tremble with fear, but with a strange smile on his face. Suddenly he jumped up. He waved the divine sword in his hand. In a short while, he annihilated all the thugs of the gambling house. Seeing Wolfgang's appearance, he had been completely demonized by the evil spirit. He staggered towards Jin-chan, with a capricious look, scared Jin-chan to tremble and crawl. If you dare to kill me, Boss Jin won't let you go. The bloodthirsty LV Gong didn't care about anything. He He stepped on Jin Chan with his foot. No matter how he shouted and begged for mercy, he was killed by the green bow cleanly, and killed him cleanly. In the evening, only saw the green bowman, sitting in the middle of the hall of the Yellow Storm mercenary, holding a bloody head in his hand. Several members came to drive the green bow away, but the green worker told them that the leader had been killed. From today on, he was their new leader. Can the green worker become the leader and survive the next episode? To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. This man, for revenge, pushed innocent people into the water and used them as chairs. The members saw this scene. They trembled all over. The green worker showed a sneer on his face and scanned everyone with his eyes. Surrender or die. A one-eyed bald man walked in with arrogance. The green worker said contemptuously, "Yo, isn't this my captain?" The bald man scolded LV Gong and pointed at him. "Ma Honghu, are you tired of living? Where have you been for so long? How dare you sit in the position of the leader? You're courting death." While walking towards Gong, he glanced at the head of the leader on the ground. His body froze, and his arrogant expression gradually turned into fear. "Am I courting death?" Gong slowly stood up and walked towards the one-eyed man, the divine sword in his hand, and made a harsh sound when rubbing against the ground. And I trembled involuntarily. Before he could finish speaking, with a whoosh, Lu Gong swung his sword and slashed, instantly killing him. Blood splashed on the faces of the surrounding people, scaring everyone to tremble. He said lightly, "From today on, I am the leader of the Berserker Mercenary Corps. Do you have any objections?" Everyone knelt down and said, hearing the unanimous support. The excited green archer kicked out the sack full of money beside him. "Take all these and share them. Follow me from now on. I guarantee you will live a good life." Seeing a large amount of money spilled out, and scrambled for it. At this time, LV Gong enjoyed the power of the sword and the pleasure of revenge. This is the real life. He was also planning the next revenge blueprint. The camera turns. The Jean family's casino was full of corpses. The boss Jean, who just returned to the casino, also learned there was no one left in the casino. Were all killed by LV Gong, and all the money in the casino had been looted by him. The boss was so angry that his blood pressure skyrocketed. The boss gritted his teeth and said, "Ma Honghu is good. How dare you kill my men? And money. He is looking for trouble in the middle of the night." A supporting actor reported, "The corpses on the ground were all drained of blood. Could Ma Honghu be practicing magic skills? Originally, he was just a crappy dumb warrior. After disappearing for half a month, his strength increased. But Boss Jean saw that these corpses are exactly the same as those of the leopard tiger. It's likely that it's the vampire sword." At this time, Boss Jean became very uneasy. At this time, a servant shouted, "Master, something is wrong." Ma Honghu brought people in. Seeing the bad situation, Boss Jean and immediately hurried back to the mansion. He pushed open the door and shouted at Ma Honghu, "How dare you come to my house to make trouble?" Lu Gong calmly said, "I just came to your house as a guest. Your wives didn't welcome me, that's fine. And even pointed at my nose and scolded me. And even wanted to cut me up and feed me to the fish. How could you treat guests like this? So I taught them a lesson for you." Seeing the maid in the water begging for help, Boss Jean was furious. He shouted to kill him. The two groups fought each other completely. Lu Gong looked at the room full of Jinliabins. Ling Xiao mocked, "Why is Master Jean so angry? I just did what you usually do." Again, as his men who went forward were killed by the lawyer, Jean picked up the sword on the ground and rushed towards LV Gong. It was a second-order martial skill, explosive flame blast. Facing the peak martial arts of a second-order dancer, can Lu Gong withstand this attack? To know the future development, please stay tuned. The sequel is my fifth sword master. Because after getting me, he has become a murderer from a coward. Am I a divine sword or a demonic sword? The boss leapt up. He rushed towards Lu Gong and swung out a flame shockwave. Lu Gong's pupil shrank and rolled to the side to dodge in an instant. However, the concubine used as a chair was directly hit. There was a loud explosion. The concubine was on fire and shouted to Boss Jean, "Master," and shouted, "Master, save me," raised his sword, and with a swing of his sword he killed the maid. At this time, the two began to mock each other. LV Gong sneered and said, as expected of Boss Jean, "You killed your lover without batting an eyelid. For this acting, Oscar can win the best actor. You're really ruthless." Jean Boss looked disdainful. "How can you compare with me? You sold your wife for 1,000 yuan. If you had no money, you could have told me. I saw your wife at Master Huang's place. She's very pretty. Experience is the best teacher." He hit the green worker's sore spot with a word. The green worker looked ferocious and shouted, "Shut up. Wait until I kill you. I'll go and kill that bitch." Holding the divine sword, he slashed towards Boss Jean. As a second-tier dancer at the peak, Boss Jean easily blocked the slash. The two quickly engaged in a fierce battle. The weapons collided wildly, making a clanging sound. I watched the battle in front of me. Although Boss Jean is highly skilled in martial arts, Yugong was at a disadvantage, but the outcome was already clear. Jean Boss is doomed to lose. Soon, his weapon broke into two pieces after a few rounds. Lu Gong took the opportunity to slash back. and directly cut off Boss Jin's arm. Jin Boss let out a scream of pain and said in horror, "Magic sword. Your sword is a magic sword." The green worker proudly said that this sword is a magic sword. Seeing the green worker's hideous appearance, "I just want to say that in your hands, this sword is even more powerful than the magic sword." Then the green worker wanted to take the opportunity and slashed at his chest, but Jin pulled one of his men over, blocking the attack. He took the opportunity to run towards the door, but due to his severe injuries, but was stopped by his own steps. He fell down and ate shit. Seeing the embarrassed look of Boss Jin, "Why did Boss Jin run so fast?" Jin trembled and said, You can't kill me. You can't kill me. The mayor won't let you go. The city lord's mansion will be my next target. I'm better than the city lord." Then he stabbed the boss through the body, and he lost his blood color at the moment of pulling it out, and became a dry corpse. Looking at the scene in front of him, he shouted in fear, "Captain is invincible. The leader is invincible." Soon, the news of the destruction of the Jin family reached the mayor. The city lord was furious. He learned from the spies that the murderer was the Baofu mercenary corps. Moreover, the Jin family's death was exactly the same as the tiger's, which made him even more puzzled. Boss Jin was at the peak of the second level, in martial arts, and he was my man. The second level Baofeng couldn't be his opponent. Besides, even a dog needs to be looked after by its owner. But it happened when the Tianqiong sect was coming. It's really a troubled time. Then he sent a fast horse to investigate. He provoked the city lord. Can Jingong safely get through this crisis? To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. Yes, the man holding a beauty and enjoying life is my fifth sword master. A few days later, the city lord learned from the spies that the leader of the mad mercenaries has changed. There is no information about the new leader, but according to the information provided by the bartender, the new leader's weapon is almost the same as Yelan's. Whether it's the length or color of the blade, including the hilt, are exactly the same. Even those who died by the sword turned into mummies. The city lord also recalled the records in the books. There are some evil swords. Demon swords have the ability to suck blood, so they sent more people to monitor the Berserker Corps, and required them to weapons and dancer ranks carefully. Wolfgang killed the boss Jin and took over the mad mercenaries, and he kept expanding himself. He began to indulge in wine, women, money and power, and stopped practicing. He thought that as long as he had the power of the sword, and constantly sucked the enemy's blood, even if the enemy is powerful, he will not be his opponent. He is truly a prodigal. The camera turns. The occupied Jin family gambling house became the Ma family's gambling house. From this moment on, Wolfgang also became a prominent person. This has completed his first goal. Next, he will occupy the royal casino owned by his wife. Before that, he has to beware of the city lord's mansion. The spies who came back said that the city lord's mansion has also sent many spies to inquire about the mercenary group. Knowing the situation, Wolfgang, he immediately ordered the members to find and kill all spies to avoid disturbing the night's operation. Hearing Wolfgang's arrangement, the members were also shocked. The green worker said her ultimate goal is to replace the city lord's mansion with the mercenary group. Seeing the hesitation of the members, Lu Gong suddenly showed a murderous look. "Don't you believe in my strength?" The members were scared into a sweat. They immediately flattered him. "Of course I believe in you, leader. Your strength is invincible in Sirius City." His flattery made Wolfgang happy and was overjoyed. In a blink of an eye, night fell. Huang Xiao, who occupied Wolfgang's wife, was busy teaching some beautiful ladies how to swim. From her mermaid line, it can be seen that she is a good swimmer. Just as they were having fun, there was a scream outside. Huang Xiao initially noticed something was wrong. Then he thought his guards were tight, and ordinary people couldn't get in. So he continued to teach swimming. At this time, a voice came from behind Huang Xiao. "Are you quite comfortable?" Wolfgang's greeting, which made Huang Xiao shiver. He turned around and saw, "Ma Honghu, why are you here? I think you are impatient to live." Then he called for his guards, but was told by the messenger that all the guards had been killed. Huang Xiao, who didn't know his place, still wanted to teach Lu Gong a lesson. Wolfgang raised the sword in his hand and cut off Huang Xiao's left hand. Huang Xiao was in great pain. "How does it feel to rob my woman? Not only your guards, but even your whole family," which scared Huang Xiao out of his wits. You at this time, Wolfgang knew that the entire Huang family had been killed. He left a few people and went to the next destination. The city lord knew that all the spies he sent out were killed. He felt something was wrong. With the sound of killing from all directions, Wolfgang and his men surrounded the city lord's mansion. Can Wolfgang become the city lord as he wishes? And become the local emperor? To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. This man was still indulging in tenderness a moment ago, but in the next second he turned into a mummy. They charged into the city lord's mansion at night. The city lord also led his men to block in the first time. When the mayor saw Lu Gong, he swung a streamer sword without hesitation. Wolfgang subconsciously used his weapon to block. At the moment of contact, there was a huge sound, damn it. The powerful force made Wolfgang retreat continuously. The murderous mayor, Ma Honghu, "I didn't expect you to be so bold." and dare to come to the city lord's mansion to make trouble. I think you have eaten the gall of a leopard. Gong looked at him with disdain. Haha, you incompetent city lord should be replaced. Let me be the mayor. Before he finished speaking, was interrupted by the city lord's fierce attack. However, Gong directly blocked and deflected it. The mayor is a 3rd level 5th rank master, while Lu Gong is at best a 1st order dancer. Peak. I couldn't help but wonder if this was the power of the sword. Then he launched a more violent attack. Although Lu Gong has the blessing of the sword, but the city lord's strength is far above him. With the sound of weapons colliding, Gong began to retreat, and his chest began to have a sharp tingling sensation, and a look of fear appeared on his face. You said you didn't listen to me when I asked you to practice. Your strength is too low. Everyone's weapons are B-level. With your little spirit, is not enough to narrow the gap between you and the city lord Zhao Gao. To win, he can only consume his life to use bloodlust. Just as the city lord wanted to take the opportunity to kill Gong held the determination to die. She sacrificed her essence and energy, thus obtaining a powerful blood-red power, which defused the crazy attack of the city lord, and pushed him back. However, the stronger the power obtained, the more essence and blood energy it consumes. Gong's body also became much more wretched, which looked terrifying. She still muttered that she would kill you. Then he attacked the city lord at a very fast speed. At first, the city lord could barely parry. As the swordsmanship became faster and faster, the mayor became more and more tired. Li Gong knew his state was not right, and couldn't continue to fight. Seeing the bad situation, the city lord decided to escape. However, Li Gong in a frenzy, where would he give him a chance to escape? Already bloodthirsty, he exhausted a large amount of essence and blood energy. Phantom dance. In an instant, the city lord was split by thousands of swords, and was disfigured. I also gained 300 evolution points. As expected of a 3rd order dancer, the evolve points I gained are really many, but the spirit soul rewarded by the city lord was not enough to make up for the consumption of Yugong. Even if the city lord was drained of blood, was not enough to replenish Yugong. Yugong also felt his body getting weaker and weaker. I need more blood. Then he swung his sword frantically, and slashed at everyone. People around also shouted that the leader was crazy. Run! However, Gong killed a 3rd level dancer at the peak of 1st. Almost exhausted all his essence and blood, and couldn't absorb the energy at all. Then his body became more and more shriveled. He shouted for the sword to give him blood. Save me, and then fell to the ground. Looking at the scene in front of me, I couldn't help but feel. The achievement of the unlucky sword is just used to eliminate the weak sword masters. At this moment, a hand stretched out from behind, and took me out of the green bow's hand. Hey, that trash became powerful with this sword, right? Now it's my turn. Who will be the next one to be eliminated? To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. In this life, I was reincarnated as a stone bell sword. After several sword masters, I evolved into a B-level shadow sword. Receiving a distress signal from the city lord's mansion, the Qingtian sect also arrived at the city lord's mansion late at night. The city lord's mansion was in a mess. There were corpses everywhere, and they all looked like mummies. Everyone was also muttering whether someone practiced some kind of evil spell that caused the situation. The leader, a bearded man, looked at his disciples and scolded them angrily. What are you doing over there? Don't be afraid. Lock the point and quickly investigate the surrounding situation. The little brat always wants to be lazy. At this time, a man with a scar like Kakashi reported. According to the previous information of the city lord, it's all related to a man named Ma Honghu. The bearded man shook his head. We've been here for so long. The mayor hasn't shown up. It seems that he has met with an accident. You give the order. Let them team up in pairs. And be vigilant. Signal immediately if in danger. With the deep search of everyone, they finally found the mayor's body in the hall. Looking at the unrecognizable city lord, the bearded man calmly instructed his men. Arrange for someone to deal with the mayor's body. Then, in the next few days, a new city lord will be elected. To stabilize Sir Chun in Sirius City, Lawyer Gong, not far away, also turned into a mummy. The bearded man looked at the lawyer's appearance. He speculated and concluded that the law enforcement officer's body was sucked dry. He must have practiced some kind of writing method and was killed by backlash. Then he waved his hand. He made a difficult decision. He asked all his disciples, first piled up all the corpses, and died, and then took back all the good quality weapons, and leave the ordinary ones. I didn't expect this bearded man to be so smart. While cleaning up, a young man accidentally discovered me. He saw that almost all the weapons were stained with blood. Only this one didn't. He guessed that the sword was not unsealed, but as soon as he touched the blade, he was cut. I saw his astonishment. Young man, do you want to see which one is stronger, you or the sword? A young man who was about to become a warrior just raised his sword and died within 5 seconds. Do you want to try? The young man is smart. He shouted to his fellow disciple Zhang Xiaoming. Come and see. This sword is not ordinary. Zhang Xiaoming looked at the sword up and down. Isn't it just a black sword? We have many weapons in our sect. The young man said the sword was extremely sharp. and it can suck blood. Hearing that the sword can suck blood, Zhang Xiaoming had an idea. He had an idea. His eyes changed slightly. It's just an ordinary sword. There's nothing strange about it. He pulled the sword out casually. Suddenly, he felt a powerful force constantly surging up. He was worried that the boy would find out, saying the sword was just sharp. He put the sword in the basket, urging the young man to work quickly, to avoid being scolded. I was secretly happy. This is a magic sword. I had picked up a treasure. A few days later, I thought, a first-class dancer could be immune to the effect of the sword. But as soon as I finished speaking, the migrant worker bit off a tooth while eating. Just pretend I didn't say it. The effect of the sword didn't affect him much, although unlucky, but it's not fatal. But I'm puzzled. Why didn't a high-level dancer come to take the sword? Author, you should be a human. But it's okay. After the last upgrade, I finally unlocked the map. In the new map, what sparks will he have with the migrant worker? To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. The man in front of me is really ruthless. For a sword, he killed his good brother. After traveling through mountains and rivers, I finally left Sirius City. I came to the new map, Tianqiong Mountain. My laborer is so happy that he walks with wind. The quarrelsome fellow disciple saw that. Seeing that the migrant worker is in such a good mood, always making sarcastic remarks. Isn't the alliance assessment coming soon? Seeing your state, I'm afraid you can't pass it. But the migrant worker ignored him. You don't need to worry about that. Soon the people who went out also returned to the sect. The first thing, they need to report the weapons to the weapon pavilion. The guy who worried that the weapon was a magic sword advised Min Gong to report the weapon to the former elder of weapon pavilion. Min Gong was afraid that the weapon's service list would be found. He put down the basket calmly, saying let them go by themselves. They don't need to worry too much about it. But he had already secretly taken the weapon away. With the approaching assessment, the migrant workers also urgently wanted to improve their strength. So he found a remote place to practice. After a few days of practice, his strength has improved by leaps and bounds. However, because he didn't sweep the floor for several days, the eldest senior brother sent Zhao Si to find him. He found that he was practicing with the sword, and advised him to hide the sword if it was discovered. He would be punished, and asked him to return the sword quickly. The disturbed migrant worker glared at Zhao Si, warning him that it was none of his business, telling him to keep his mouth shut. About the sweeping thing, he would explain it to the senior brother. Seeing the murderous migrant worker, and was scared into a cold sweat, and said he would not leak the secret, and fled in a hurry. He knew there must be something wrong with the sword, and the migrant worker's state was not right. He wanted to report the matter to his senior brother. However, the migrant worker, seeing Zhao Si's hurried manner, and he would definitely snitch, he couldn't let it go. Then he took a step to block his way. I won't let you reveal the secret of the sword. Go to hell. Then he stabbed Zhao Si in the throat. Zhao Si covered his neck with both hands, and looked at the migrant worker with wide eyes, and shouted. Xiaoming lost consciousness. Only then did the migrant worker come to his senses, with a look of panic on his face. I killed Zhao Si. No, it's him. It's him who deserves to die. He would tell others about my hidden sword, and I would be punished to death. Yes, that's it. And it was right. The migrant worker quickly found a reason for himself. At this time, the sword absorbed Zhao Si's blood, and soon Zhao Si turned into a mummy. The migrant worker looked at the sword in his hand. He was shocked. In the end, can Zhang Xiaoming hide the secret of the sword? To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. This man's acting skills is definitely at the level of an Oscar winner. He killed his best friend, but could act as if nothing happened. Soon, it was time for the sect assessment. You know the Tianqiong sect never raises useless people, and those who fail will be expelled from the sect. On such an important day of assessment, Zhao Si didn't show up. As Zhao Si is usually the most punctual, the scarred senior brother also felt very strange. So he asked the migrant worker who was closest to Zhao Si, Zhang Xiaoming, you are the closest to Zhao Si. Do you know where he went? The migrant worker was very calm, and scratched his head. I don't know. Maybe he went home because of something at home. I've heard him say he wanted to go home before. I admire his acting skills. He was not flustered, and his face unchanged. You deserve an Oscar for your acting. Big brother always felt something was wrong, but he couldn't find anything wrong. And you haven't swept the floor for several times. If you do it again, you'll be expelled from Tianqiong Palace. Min Gong said calmly that there would be no next time. The senior brother was very dissatisfied with his attitude. Considering the assessment was about to start, he didn't pursue it further. With the vigorous physical fitness assessment over, it came to the last competition, the guest battle. Among these people, there were still more than a dozen second-order dancers. Especially one of them is the peak of second-order dancer. Zhang Shan was also the favorite to win the competition. At the beginning of the competition, Zhang Shan arrogantly said that the migrant worker who just advanced to second level would not be his opponent at all. He was sure to win the first place in this assessment. The migrant worker just sneered at him. Soon the competition began. The migrant worker faced a first-order dancer. He casually swung his sword and cut off the opponent's weapon. The winner was decided. As soon as the migrant worker came on, he kept winning with an invincible posture. People under the stage all admired him. Zhang Shan also felt that the sword was extraordinary. As the competition progressed, they also reached the finals. Zhang Shan fought against Zhang Xiaoming. The winner will receive a bottle of medium-grade Yuan Dan. At the beginning of the game, Min Gong launched a fierce attack. The two fought back and forth. The weapons kept making violent collision sounds. Min Gong kept pressing Zhang Shan from start to finish. He let out a contemptuous laugh. How could you be so weak? Then he gripped the sword tightly and infused his body's power into the sword. The whole sword was filled with dark attribute energy. I feel that the evil swordsman becomes dark attribute, while the good one becomes light attribute. Until now, I haven't seen a light attribute swordsmanship. The migrant worker slashed at Zhang Shan with all his might, although it was blocked by Zhang Shan. But the dark energy shot from the sword directly corroded his hands, causing him unbearable pain. The migrant worker seized the moment and dropped his weapon. The drop-long sword was also eroded with many holes. With Zhang Shan's defeat, the competition also had a winner. The senior brother watched the migrant worker's performance and praised him for his rapid progress and recommended him to the next hunter competition. The migrant worker was appreciated by the senior brother and thanked the senior brother happily. Can things go as Zhang Xiaoming wishes? To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. This man is really a great actor. He can pretend nothing happened when he killed his brother. The migrant worker, who won the first place in the assessment, with the help of the mid-grade Jiyuan pill, he kept practicing. Soon, his strength reached the peak of the second stage. But I still need over 100 evolution points. I can evolve into an A-level weapon. Many 6th-order dancers use A-class weapons. At that time, the sword might be a curse for him. What should he do then? 2 months have passed since the assessment. Finally, the beast hunt competition has arrived. The eldest senior brother has high hopes for Min Gong. Min Gong also showed great confidence. Not far away, Zhang Shan hated Min Gong deeply and glared at him with resentment. They soon arrived at the foot of the mountain. At this time, the Sky Sect's people were everywhere. Elder Zhang Laosan of the Qingtian sect is standing on a high place scanning everyone, and then announced the competition rules. A total of 143 people participated. The top 20 can be promoted to inner sect disciples. To the top of the mountain, the order will be based on the hunting of the beasts. The points they gain from hunting the beasts. The starting point is set in the Python Forest. Hearing the rules, Min Gong confidently said that he would win the first place. As soon as Zhang Laosan finished speaking, this group of people set off towards the Python Forest. Along the way, many disciples gathered in groups, whispering to each other, exploring the dangers of the Great Python Forest. It is known that the reason why it is called the Python Forest, because there are super beasts of level 6 in the forest. The big python appears. The danger of the competition is extremely high. Try not to enter the depths. Hearing their words, Min Gong sneered at the corner of his mouth. He thought that if he didn't go deep, how to obtain a stronger artistic conception. The competition is decided by artistic conception. At this time, several disciples wanted to team up with him. Before they could finish speaking, he refused them. He looked at them with contempt and scolded them for being cowardly and weak, and they didn't deserve to be with him. They were angry after hearing this, threatening that they would suffer in the competition. But the migrant workers coldly mocked them as useless. Now he only has the first place in his eyes. He is determined to become an inner disciple. The murderous aura emanating from him, which made them feel scared. Soon, everyone arrived at the forest entrance. The elders also began to distribute backpacks to everyone, and reminded that these were specially made backpacks, which is specially used to hold the gold coins. One must be kept safe. During the competition, the time limit is 1 day. The one with the highest quality and quantity of the elders will give other rewards. With the start of the competition, everyone ran towards the forest simultaneously. Zhang Laosan watched everyone enter. At this time, the man accompanying Zhang Laosan expressed concern. Is it okay for the elder to do this? Zhang Laosan slightly raised the corner of his mouth. They are just outer disciples. We have plenty of them. As long as we can lure him out, this loss is negligible. I want to ascend to the 6th realm. I must get his I Ching. What conspiracy is Zhang Laosan planning? Can Zhang Xiaoming win the first place? To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. I was reborn as a sword. However, I endured injuries that a sword shouldn't. He is worthy of being a migrant worker in the forest. As soon as I entered, he encountered a large number of second-order beasts. They found that the migrant workers seemed to see delicious food and rushed towards him like crazy. The migrant worker was not in a hurry. He waved the divine sword in his hand and instantly split the first monster in half. The second senior brother is famous for his thick skin. However, in front of the divine sword, it was as easy as cutting tofu. As the migrant worker kept killing the second senior brother, I also kept getting evolution points. Finally, the system prompts that the evolution condition is met. I excitedly chose to evolve. The migrant worker also felt. He felt the sword tremble slightly. The sword constantly felt like a heartbeat. Then he carefully examined the sword body. Suddenly dark clouds gathered overhead, and soon turned into dark red. The python in the depths of the forest was also attracted, while those outside the forest were shocked. Some thought it was a sign of the python's appearance, while others think it's the bad weather in the forest itself. However, Zhang Laosan thought that the ability of this kind of change in heaven and earth, or a sixth-order alien beast. As the clouds accumulated thicker, the whole sky turned into a terrifying blood red. Lightning strikes from time to time. The migrant workers were afraid of being affected. He directly stuck his sword into the ground and hid aside to observe. The moment the sword was released, lightning fell one after another in the air and directly struck the sword. Author, please be a human. I just want to evolve. You're making it seem like I'm going through a tribulation. Please, bro. I'm not a casual player. With the continuous falling of lightning, and the sword began to crack and slowly began to shed its skin. The whole sword changed at a visible speed, began to change. As the sword appeared with a new look, the dark clouds began to slowly dissipate. The sword also became colorful under the sunlight. Since then, I have completed my evolution and became an A-class weapon. All the attributes of the sword of Slash have become a level. The power is imaginable. The migrant worker looked at the sword, couldn't calm down from the shock. Meanwhile, the python in the depths of the forest is approaching Mingong step by step. Can Zhang Xiaoming with the help of Yao Zhan win the hunter competition? To know the future development, please stay tuned. For the continuation, please look forward to it. The man in front of me is my master. I have completed my evolution and evolved into an A-level weapon called Yao Zhan. The author seems to be joking. He took a homophonic name for the sword. He is a genius. The migrant worker saw the vision disappear and looked at the divine sword with surprise. He slowly picked up the brand new sword. He felt it was very different from before. A steady stream of power surged through my heart. The power amplification is also very obvious. He was so happy that his mouth curved into a crescent, evolving into an A-class weapon. The increase in all attributes also reached the level of a class. However, this evolution, it actually adds a new function called Chuanshi, which means that the galaxy can be seen. Spend some energy to pass it on to the sword master. So I cut the name of the sword in half and Phantom Dance of Sword Sister to him. After getting the information, the migrant worker was surprised and was excited, thinking it was a divine sword, and recognized his identity as the sword master. The young man is still too young. Let you know that the sword sister just wants you not to die. Kill more alien beasts to evolve me. You should know that I am the sword that defeats the master. Then the migrant worker found a group of boars to build a relationship. The boar was also hospitable and charged at him when they met. The migrant worker took a leap and stabbed them with a white knife and a red knife. It was like cutting vegetables, and sent the piggy to the west to learn scriptures. A gentle swing can cause such great damage, so he posed in a handsome stance to test the power of the sword. When the two pigs rushed towards them, countless swords slashed towards them simultaneously. After a sword shadow, the two pigs became bloody and bruised. The migrant worker was even more proud. Maybe with the power of the divine sword, he could reach the peak of his life and marry a rich and beautiful woman. And I also found that, as long as the sword master releases the trap himself, it won't consume my evolution points. Wouldn't this make me evolve faster? At this time, there was a sudden roar from a distance. I took a closer look. A third-order alien beast, the flame black bear, spitting out flames from its mouth, was attacking the dancers surrounding him with just a left hook. He easily knocked down the dancer on the side, and no matter how the dancers attacked it with weapons, it couldn't cause any damage. In front of the flame black bear, they were embarrassed and had no way. The migrant workers nearby laughed at them as useless. They can't even handle a third-order flame giant bear, and still want to compete with him for the first place. Then he took a leap and jumped in front of the bear. The black bear was also polite when they met, and directly stretched out its huge bear paw and gave a loving hug. The migrant workers grinned with a wicked smile. Man and beast are different. Then he held the divine sword and slashed at the black bear. Instantly, the bear's paw was cut off. The black bear fell to the ground and screamed in pain. In front of the divine sword, the black bear's defense was like paper. The camera turns back to the sky. In the sect, the eldest senior brother also found Zhao Xi's body and inferred that the migrant worker was the murderer. What will the senior brother do? To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. I was reincarnated as a sword. This is my current sword, Zhang Xiaoming. When the black bear fell to the ground and moaned in pain, the migrant worker took advantage of his illness. He held the sword and slashed hard. Instantly, he cut off the black bear's neck. Then he slashed the black bear's body. He didn't forget to take out the essence of the three-world monster. He stabbed the sword into the black bear's body to dilute blood. He pulled it out after a while. Looking at his operation, it is obvious that he is a smart man. He knew that the sword could be strengthened by diluting blood. He had never been informed before. After Mingong pulled out the divine sword, the sword looked like it had just been sharpened, and became even sharper. Just as Mingong finished cleaning up, and was ready to hunt, the two remaining dancers suddenly stopped him. The migrant worker looked at them with annoyance. A murderous look, which made one dancer tremble with fear. The other dancer plucked up his courage and said, they first discovered the third-order flame black bear. The migrant worker took their exotic animal. This is a violation of the rules. They asked the migrant worker to give them the book of changes and leave the black bear's corpse to the migrant workers. The migrant worker looked at these shameless people with a smile. If he hadn't appeared in time and killed the black bear, maybe they would have become the eyes of the black bear. Not only ungrateful, but they even took the spoils. The two couldn't argue with the migrant worker, so they knew the eldest brother. They threatened him, and the migrant worker was not happy. Then an invisible sword chi burst out and rushed towards them. Seeing the situation was not good, they were scared and ran away on their knees and hands. The migrant worker looked at the regine in his hand. He firmly stated that he must win the first place. I also benefited from the artistic competition, and his evolution points kept rising. Just as the migrant worker was about to continue hunting, they were stopped by the two people again. Although they ran away, they were still unwilling to lose the book of changes. They also found another third-level player, a player named Lin Xiao, to snatch it. Knowing that the migrant worker's sword was unusual, he was aggressive. Seeing that the migrant worker had gained a lot of I Ching, they accused the migrant worker of stealing the sword. And the I Ching in his hand was also stolen. They demanded that the migrant worker hand over the items. They wanted to take advantage of the numbers to snatch the migrant worker's spoils and sword. The migrant worker calmly said that, come and take it if you can. Seeing that the migrant worker refused to obey, they drew their swords and stabbed at the migrant worker. Lin Xiao stayed where he was to observe. This guy is really cunning. Let two fools go up as cannon fodder and reap the benefits. This kind of strategy is certainly different. To prevent the migrant workers from being consumed, so I sent a message. I told the migrant workers to use swords and halberds directly, with the vibration of the divine sword. The migrant workers also understood. They performed the phantom dance. In an instant, two muggles were hacked to pieces by countless swords. Lin Xiao, who was nearby, saw this cruel scene. He trembled with fear. After dealing with the two muggles, next it was the despicable Lin Xiao. Since you want to take away others' things, then be prepared to suffer the consequences. Meanwhile, Huang Mang was getting closer to success. Whether Zhang Xiaoming can win the python comes after dealing with the two muggles. To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. What exactly happened? This man was actually bitten by the python. After dealing with the two muggles, the migrant worker pointed his sword at Lin Xiao. Lin Xiao was obviously frightened by the scene just now. Stuck in place, the migrant worker looked at Lin Xiao's appearance. A curve rose from the corner of his mouth. He mocked Lin Xiao as a waste. He was just a third-order dancer. Killing him is like killing an ant. Seeing this, Lin Xiao didn't hesitate. He knelt down in front of the migrant worker, kneeling down and begging for mercy, saying that he was a useless person, asking the worker not to hold grudges against him, and let him go. I thought that Lin Xiao was a third-level dancer, wouldn't easily give in. Could it be that he was really scared? But it's better to be cautious. Notify the migrant worker, asking him to be on guard against him, not to be defeated by such a person. Unexpectedly, as soon as I finished sending the message, Lin Xiao suddenly looked up sharply and took out a box from his chest belt and instantly shot out a large number of fine needles. The migrant worker instinctively felt something wrong. With an astonishing reaction, he swung his sword to defend. However, there were too many needles and was still stabbed by a few. At this time, Lin Xiao restored his original appearance. He laughed at the migrant worker's speed. There will be a time when he is careless. This hidden weapon was specially prepared, and specially Baopoya's special poison. This time, even the gods can't save him. Lin Gong looked at the wound and began to pull the needle out of his body. At this time, his arms began to turn black. Obviously, the venom was spreading throughout his body. His face began to darken. He roared for Lin Xiao to hand over the antidote, or he would not let him go. Lin Xiao sneered and laughed, saying that there is no antidote to this poison. Hearing this, the migrant worker's blood pressure skyrocketed. He roared and rushed towards Lin Xiao. The angry slash directly knocked him flying. Several months later, Lin Xiao started to vomit blood. He found that the migrant worker had become stronger, so he tried to escape. However, the migrant worker would not let him go easily. He rushed towards him like crazy. Even if he died, he would take him with him. Then he jumped high. Just as the sword was about to cut Lin Xiao, suddenly, the python emerged from nowhere and bit the migrant worker out of the air. The python really chose the right moment. It saved Lin Xiao's life at the critical moment. Lin Xiao saw a good opportunity and wanted to take this opportunity to escape. However, Ming Gong in anger wouldn't let him wish. Then he gathered all his strength into the divine sword, pointing at Lin Xiao with all his strength. Before Lin Xiao could turn around and react, the divine sword pierced through his chest. After the python swallowed the migrant worker and turned its huge mouth towards Lin, I was also unlucky to be swallowed by the tongue. At this time, Zhang Laosan and several minions also arrived. Everything went as he planned, by the continuous killing of outer disciples, to lure the python out. And witnessed all this happen, watching the python devouring disciples. Whether I, who was swallowed by the snake, could see the light. To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. These men actually want to hunt such a big python. Zhang Laosan and others launched a triangular attack to disperse the attack points of the python. At this time, the python suddenly spewed out a large amount of green venom, and the surrounding trees and weeds were all corroded. Seeing this, Zhang Laosan asked the other two elders to stay away from the python. Seeing the opportunity, he held his weapon tightly with both hands and swung out a flaming sword energy towards the python. The python is worthy of being a sixth-order alien beast. Not only realized the sudden attack, but also dodged the attack with a quick reaction. It then used its tail to chop, knocked the elder with the gun away from one side. The blood basin mouth sprayed venom at Zhang Laosan. Fortunately, Zhang Laosan is skilled. He jumped back quickly to avoid the attack. Otherwise, he would have become a ghost of the rich. The python immediately changed its target, aimed the giant mouth at the elder, who had just been knocked away. Just as the giant mouth was about to swallow him, another elder with two swords, he kicked the giant mouth heavily, solving the crisis of the elder with a gun. However, the python adjusted its shape and used its tail to throw the two-blade elder away again. Zhang Laosan on the other side seized the moment. While the python wasn't paying attention, he deeply stabbed the python in the 3-inch spot. The two elders also took advantage of the python's attention, attracted by Zhang Laosan, and frantically attacked. This cooperation is perfect. At this time, the python began to struggle in pain, and kept screaming, and then plunged into the ground, and disappeared. Everyone thought the python was going to escape. They relaxed a little. At this time, the ground suddenly began to tremble. Just as they reacted, a huge bloody mouth emerged from under the gun-bearing elder, and swallowed him in one bite. The python had burrowed into the ground to find a chance to ambush. As expected of a sixth-order alien beast, its strength is indeed extraordinary. I thought I was doomed to be swallowed, but I didn't expect the python's stomach acid couldn't corrode me. What a joke. It seems that my defense is already high. At least the 6th level corrosion is ineffective for me. But the migrant worker's body was only a skeleton left. I can only pray for him. The problem now is to escape from the snake's belly. Fortunately, the evolution points I had accumulated during this time. I spent a lot of evolution points to perform Phantom Dance. The sword transformed into countless swords and continuously attacked the snake's belly. The python was also tortured and suffered. It swung its body like crazy and kept bumping around. Zhang Laosan and others were also frightened by the scene. They wanted to take advantage of the python's madness. Then they planned to take the opportunity to cut off its head. At this moment, the sword through constant attacks finally penetrated the snake's belly and flew out. I was out of the belly. I killed the python for no reason and gained 600 evolution points. The author's operation really didn't confuse me. Who will I meet after escaping from the snake's belly? Who will become my next sword master? To know the future development, please stay tuned. The sequel, this man is practicing in the wild. He almost became a eunuch. When the godly arrow killed the python, Zhang Laosan and another elder intended to cut off the python's head, were corroded by the venom sprayed from the python's mouth, and was immediately killed. All the people in front of them were killed, and no one survived. The scene was really bleak. I wanted to mourn for a while longer. Due to the excessive power of the steel sword, it kept flying forward. It flew to the middle of a waterfall. If it sinks to the bottom, it will take a long time. I could see the light again. This made me anxious. I wanted to use the movement skill to stop it, but all the evolution points were used on the sword mark. At this time, the sword lost power and began to fall rapidly. A man named Ling San was under the waterfall. Due to his meridian problem, he couldn't practice. Sitting on the ground, he was thinking about life. Suddenly, the divine sword fell from the sky and fell next to his younger brother. It almost made him a eunuch. The sudden disaster scared him to keep retreating. 1,000 alpacas were running in his heart. He cursed and looked around, but found nothing. He stood up and looked at the magic sword, looking at the sword with a strange fish-like shape. He had been suffering from no progress in cultivation for a long time. He thought it was a heavenly gift, so he suppressed his inner ecstasy and held the sword. In an instant, a steady stream of power surged into his heart, and then he practiced the technique. But it was like a blocked meridian, quickly circulated in an instant. The incredible scene surprised him greatly, and saliva kept flowing. This sword is indeed a divine sword. Maybe it can really bring him a transformation. I sat cross-legged under my abdomen and practiced the technique. I thought that all the buildings of fighting all like to find a place where no one is to practice, which is inefficient. It's better to directly kill the alien beast to practice. But this time, the main attack mentioned the sword can accelerate the practice of the technique. The sword will not have this bonus skill in the future. Could it be the effect after becoming an A-class? 03 was concentrating on cultivation. Suddenly he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, with a look of surprise on his face. Just one practice. All aspects of the body have been greatly improved. The sword can not only speed up energy absorption, but also unblock his blocked meridians. After 4 years of shouting, he finally had hope of improvement. It turns out that Lin San was a genius since childhood, but 4 years ago, because his meridians could not be broken through, he was stuck at the peak of the second-order dancer. Slowly, he went from a genius. He became a waste in people's mouth. This plot is old-fashioned. Will he be forced to marry someone later? Lin San thought deeply. Then he picked up the divine sword and practiced the Tianqiong swordsmanship. As the long sword danced, the air was filled with a piercing sound. The burst of sword energy slashed towards the waterfall. The waterfall was instantly cut off. Looking at his smooth operation, this decision is a master of using swords. And the attribute of the sword has also become light. This really surprised me. The only one with light attribute so far. He looked like a good seedling, so I passed on the attribute information of the sword to him. Lin San thought it was the sword recognizing its master. This fool. I just thought he was a promising talent. I just gave him the information to not die so soon. To kill more enemies. To let the sword upgrade. What will happen to the new sword master Lin San? What will happen between him and the sword? To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. This man fell from a genius to a waste. Even his fiancée wants to break off the engagement. When Lin San left the waterfall and returned to his residence, he heard some passing disciples whispering, discussing that Zhang Laosan died with the python. Lin San was also a little shocked when he heard this news. Zhang Laosan was a 5th level dancer. He died so easily, but on second thought, the red-eyed python in the forest was level 6. Zhang Laosan actually had the idea of hunting it, which was a bit overconfident. The eldest senior brother also learned about the situation in the forest. He originally planned to punish him when he returned, but they all died under the belly of the python. Then he sent Zhang Shan to find the sword. However, the relics and corpses were handled by the inner disciples. Since it was handled by the inner sect, they as outer disciples couldn't interfere at all. They could only ask others for information. But what no one knew was that, by chance, the sword fell into Lin San's hands. Lin San immediately started practicing without a break. As time passed, 7 days passed quickly. With the blessing of the sword, he practiced the technique over and over again. He frantically impacted the blocked meridians. Just as the meridians were unblocked, he spat out a mouthful of blood. At this time, there was no pain on Lin San's face. He laughed wildly, looking at the divine sword in his hand. He cheered that he finally broke through the blocked meridians. He had been troubled by the meridian problem for 4 years, making him stand still. Looking at the sword, he couldn't calm down for a long time. Before Lin San could recover from the joy, a group of uninvited guests broke into the door. The leader is named Feng Wutian. He came to take back Lin San's residence. Since the next allocation of residences, there was still half a month before the next allocation. They despised these people, but they insisted on taking it back. Isn't this clearly bullying people? What's more, Lin San is their eldest senior brother. It shows that the 4-year meridian problem has been painful. Seeing that Lin San refused to comply, and walked straight towards Lin San, then he used the 9 bone claw, trying to grab his collar. Lin San raised his eyebrows, and dodged it with a movement. Then he gently slapped backhand, and pushed Feng Wutian's arm away. Feng Wutian was furious, thinking, good boy, you've grown bolder, and dares to resist. He instantly swung his fist and hit Lin San. Lin San was calm and composed, and his left hand punched out as well. When their fists collided, there was a loud noise. Feng Wutian was shocked. A powerful impact was sent flying out. I watched the scene in front of me, which was very wonderful. Although Lin San was stuck in his meridians, but he never stopped practicing in the past 4 years. Jingwu Fen Tianju and Tianqiong swordsmanship. He has mastered them to perfection. Although his internal force is not deep, but his foundation is very solid. Feng Wutian threatened and left, and fled happily. After driving them away, Lin San practiced the sky sword technique again. As a second-order dancer, he can still cultivate sword intent. He is indeed a genius. I wonder why every time I focus on practicing, someone would disturb him. This time, it was Lin San's master who brought his junior sister, who came slowly. From the arrogant look of the little junior sister, she looked down on Lin San very much. Master. The master came here for Lin San and his junior sister's marriage. This familiar plot and familiar taste. It's him. He finally came. To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. This once-in-a-century genius was actually divorced by his father-in-law. I thought the plot would follow the forced marriage routine, but it turned out to be the one who was divorced. He was eager to be related, but when he was down, he was afraid of being involved. The master came to ask them to cancel the engagement. Lin San accepted the request calmly. Instead, the little junior sister, looking at Lin San with a calm face, showed a shocked expression, thinking he was pretending to be reserved, and told Lin San to know his place, and asked him to try to distance himself from her, and not let others misunderstand. Lin San still had a calm expression, which made the little junior sister gnash her teeth. Master Zhang Tianxia pretended to pat Lin San on the shoulder, comforting and warning him that the sect competition is about to start. They must move out of their current residence. and returned to live at the foot of the mountain, and told him to pack up quickly, and he would be prioritized. He waved his hand, and disappeared in front of Lin San. Lin San hated Zhang Tianxua's face very much. When he was outstanding, he was respectful. But now he is arrogant. It's really a decline in morality, and the fickle world. But he was lucky to meet himself. With the competition approaching, Lin San practiced even harder. However, the sword was too sharp. The new scabbard soon broke. As an A-level weapon, in order to avoid being coveted, he decided to go down the mountain to find someone. Although Lin San was cautious in dealing with people, the divine sword in his hand was still discovered by the covetous Zhang Shan. He followed Lin San down the mountain to find an opportunity to seize the sword. Since making the scabbard requires a lot of money, so Lin San chose a forest to kill the monster. He saw a second-order firebird dancing skillfully. He swings the sword, using the wind as a blade, and light steps as clouds. Instantly, he killed the second-order firebird. Seeing Lin San's smooth operation, he couldn't help but admire him as a genius in martial arts. At this time, Lin San suddenly felt murderous intent. Zhang Shan and several muggles surrounded Lin San, arrogantly asking Lin San to hand over the sword. After being rejected, they unsheathed their swords and attacked Lin San. Lin San responded calmly. First, he dodged the slash from behind. He swung the sword to knock down one person. Then he killed the other two with ease. His moves were smooth and fluid, and smoothly, which made Zhang Shan tremble with fear. He thought Lin San had no progress in 3 or 4 years, and was a complete waste. So he dared to do something wrong. The man in front of him was so powerful. He begged for mercy on his knees with tears. Then he told Lin San the origin of the sword, saying that he was just momentarily bewitched. Lin San saw Zhang Dan hesitate in his action. I thought he had a change of heart. But the next second he killed Zhang Dan, because Lin San knew that these people not only wanted the sword, but also take his life. In 4 years, even outer disciples dared to kill him, which made him very angry. He was determined to impress everyone. Whether Lin San can show his edge again. To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. These exhibitionists, how dare they rob the women in broad daylight? Lin San finally arrived in Xingcheng. The blacksmith took the sword. He could tell the sword was different. It's not only full of evil, but also with a strange demonic aura. It's extremely sharp. A slight touch of the blade will be cut. Therefore, he had to use rare black dragon scales to make a sheath. Otherwise the sword's edge would be uncontrollable. In addition, he needs to pay 20,000 yuan, and 5 days for the crafting. The price is quite high. Lin San negotiated with the blacksmith. Pay 200 yuan as deposit first, and pay the balance later. Since the scarce materials are easy to sell, the two sides quickly reached an agreement. Lin San was worried about money all the way. When passing through a busy street, he saw several nudists robbing women in broad daylight, but no one dared to stand up and stop them. At this time, an old man couldn't stand it anymore, and sternly accused them of to do evil in the empire of heaven. Before he finished speaking, he was kicked away by one. He arrogantly claimed to be a noble Dilo. I want to say, did you watch too much One Piece? You made a copy of the Tianlong people. At this time, the onlookers saw the arrogant and domineering nudist, could no longer contain their inner anger, and wanted to teach them a lesson. However, as soon as they rushed forward, they were mercilessly killed by the naked maniac. The crowd was scared and fled in all directions. The nudist even roared arrogantly, "Who else is not afraid of death?" Seeing the situation getting worse, the alerted mayor also came over. They thought the mayor would come to seek justice for them. However, the mayor was in league with them, but only cared about the safety of the exhibitionists. He scolded the crowd as pariahs. How dare you offend them? They deserve to die. He ordered his men to disperse the crowd. This matter will end here. Otherwise he would not forgive. The mayor was respectful in front of the streakers. Without any dignity, the abducted girl couldn't even cry for help. Seeing the scene in front of him, although Lin San was furious, he still endured it, because he knew that if he acted recklessly now, it would only be like a mantis blocking a car and overreaching. I'm also glad that Lin San's lord is sensible, didn't act recklessly like a fool. This shows that he will live a long life. Leaving the new city and coming to a suburb, he wondered how many beasts he had to kill to earn enough money. A large group of second-order flame machines appeared. Once it spotted Lin San, they sprayed lightning from their sleeves and rushed towards him, facing the numerous flame machines swarming up. 03 used elegant steps to evade the attacks. He used his swordsmanship with spiritual power to knock down the flame machines in the air. In less than a stick of incense, he killed all the beasts. During the process, he found that the sword could become sharper by diluting the blood. Looking at the changes in the sword in his hand, he began to think it was a magic sword. The earth suddenly began to tremble. It was hard to even stand. From the powerful aura, I could feel it must be a high-level alien beast in battle. Since so, there must be casualties. My heart began to get excited. I desperately flew along the way. Maybe I can pick up a bargain. Whether it is as Lin San speculated, a beast fight, and whether he can pick up a bargain as he wishes. Stay tuned for the sequel. Xiongda doesn't play with Lager Vic, but came to practice boxing with the Green Tiger. Lin San followed the strange sound to the deep forest. He found two 7th order beasts. Peng Hu and Xiongdao were fighting. The scene was very shocking. So Lin San hid in the grass to watch, waiting for them to be both defeated and reap the benefits. Seeing his excited look, I'm not going to rain on his parade. Even if they both lose, his current strength is not enough for them to chew. At this time, Xiongdao was wrapped in electric current and attacked Peng Hu with his claws. Tigress didn't back down either, screaming wildly, and his body burst out with a powerful airflow and kept counterattacking. As they kept shaking, Xiongdao was covered in wounds and bleeding continuously. Tigress had a lot of charred black. Neither one gave way. They kept colliding. Xiongdao took the opportunity to slap Fat Tiger on the head. A heavy blow penetrated his head. The scarred bear roared to the sky to vent his victory. Lin San saw this scene and felt that the time was ripe. When he was about to go up to reap, several high-level dancers emerged from the grass. It turned out that other dancers were waiting for this chance. Angry, Lin San could only observe and wait for the chance, waiting for the opportunity. With several people's crazy attacks, Xiongdao was finally killed. However, only one warrior survived, and proudly mocked the others. He was a waste, and then used a long knife to cut open, and dug out a stem. At this moment, Lin San seized the opportunity. He slashed at the warrior with a sword, but was blocked by the warrior. As expected of a high-level warrior, always keeping vigilant, the constant collision of their weapons, which also made the warrior realize the difference of the sword. He boasted, Lin San missed the sneak attack just now. Next he will feel despair. Lin San did not relax, and posed in a prepared state. Seeing the gap in the opponent's sword, I know that for this low-level weapon, a little force would definitely cut it. So I activated the bloodthirsty berserker. At this time, the sword kept diluting Lin San's blood. Lin San was also stunned. The dancer saw the opportunity for Lin San to relax, quickly launched an attack on him, but was quickly deflected by Lin San's quick reaction. The powerful attack directly repelled him. Lin San was also confused by the sudden dilution effect, and the emerging power also made him feel sick. The dancer saw that things were not going well, and wanted to end the battle quickly, so he launched a more frantic attack on Lin San. After the sword diluted the blood continuously, the sword body emerged a powerful blood-colored energy, and transferred to Lin San. Lin San also danced frantically, the sword in his hand, under the weapon collision, continuously overflowing with corrosive energy. Soon, the dancer's weapon broke into two pieces. The warrior begged for mercy on his knees, kneeling and kowtowing. Then he offered the book of changes he just got. Seeing this familiar scene, I thought Lin San wouldn't agree, but the next second he said that as long as he kept the book, he would let him go, which really gave me a headache. Just as Lin San took the I Ching, the warrior took advantage of his unpreparedness. He punched Lin San hard in the chest, knocking him to the ground, and fell to the ground. This is the consequence of being too soft-hearted. Can Lin San get through this level and successfully obtain the Book of Changes? To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. This man looks tall and mighty, but he is actually a sissy. Due to Lin San's kindness, he was attacked by the dancer and was punched heavily. The dancer is not as loving as him. He wanted to take advantage of his illness. He condensed a hot fist in his hand and hit Lin San. Lin San suddenly had red eyes. With a determination to die, he unleashed his bloodlust and then burst out with amazing power. He slashed off the dancer's arm with a sword. The sword absorbs blood to continuously feed back. The blood he consumed was restored in no time. The dancer fell to the ground in pain, screaming. Then he repeated the same trick and begged for mercy on his knees. At this time, after Lin San was blinded by rage, would not be fooled again, he then raised his sword. After a burst of power, he quickly killed the dancer with a single strike, ending his lying face. The white blade of the sword was close, and blood came out. The dancer fell to the ground. Lin San looked thoughtfully at the divine sword. Thanks to the timely power given by the sword, otherwise he would have been killed by the sword. The power given by the divine sword requires sacrificing one's own essence and blood, but killing the warrior can be fed back. In this cycle, not only will he not die, but also quickly gain powerful strength. Xingyi kept thinking about this operation. At this time, the evil spirit also began to make him crazy. Fortunately, he slapped himself in time, and he woke up, and did not kill innocent people indiscriminately, and fall into the devil way. He was steadfast, and firmly kept his original intention as a cultivator. I am also glad that Lin San's performance, he didn't lose himself because of the powerful strength, and stick to his path of cultivation. Lin San then plunged the divine sword. He stabbed into the bodies of two high-level beasts. Lin San then, to nourish himself. Soon his injuries were all healed. He also gained two 7th level 1 gold crystals. He no longer has to worry about money anymore. When Lin San left the Black Forest, he encountered two naked lunatics from the city also came here. Among them, there was a lackey who bowed and nodded. Seeing their actions, he was very angry. He didn't want to provoke them, and left quietly. Unexpectedly, the nudists suddenly stopped him. Lin San ignored them, and continued on his way. The eager lackey arrogantly blocked his way. He drew his sword and forced Lin San to submit. Lin San hated the lackey very much. He was a big man, but he was a dog for these scumbags. He looked at the lackey with a cold gaze. The anger in his heart could no longer be suppressed. At this time, the lackey shouted and suddenly attacked Lin San. Lin San waved his hand and sent him flying several meters. Then the tall naked man stopped the lackey. Regardless of his classmates' persuasion, he walked towards Lin San with a smirk. Looking at his behavior, with such a burly figure, he is actually a homosexual, which really gave me goosebumps. Whether Lin San can escape the harassment of the exhibitionist. To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. The man was harassing someone a second ago, but was scared to death the next second. Lin San saw the streaker approaching, and then he showed his weapon to prepare for battle. The lackey rushed forward to threaten Lin San. He hurt himself, and provoked the Earth Dragon man. If he doesn't kneel down and beg for mercy immediately, he would retaliate against his innocent family later. Facing the threat, Lin San's eyes were full of murderous intent. He held the divine sword and slashed directly. After a few crisp metal collisions, the lackey's weapon directly burst. Lin San took the opportunity to kill him. The exposed man next to him was directly impressed by Lin San's operation. The fat naked man smiled sinisterly, and even wanted him to be his follower, promising to let go of the past, and he could eat and drink well. Seeing the two mocking him, Lin San's anger was already bursting. Today he must act as the judge of heaven, to kill the two scumbags. Then he raised his divine sword, and a red energy burst out from his body. He jumped hard, and quickly slashed at the nudist. The naked crazy thought the slash in front of him was nothing. He calmly took out his giant sword to block. However, the powerful impact made him keep retreating. His eyes were full of disbelief. A third-order dancer can be so strong. Lin San took advantage of the naked man's hesitation, continually launched fierce attacks. The naked man could only keep blocking. His hands began to gradually numb. Seeing the situation was not good, began to call for the help of his fat companion. This shameless guy doesn't play by the rules. He took out an 18-meter-long machete and directly attacked Lin San from behind. Lin San, who sensed the danger, turned around and held his sword. Although he successfully deflected the fatal slash, but his body was cut by the invisible blade, cutting many wounds. Blood kept flowing, and the stinging sensation rushed to his heart. Lin San endured the pain. He infused all his energy into the sword, and launched the phantom dance. In an instant, he turned into countless phantoms, and stabbed countless swords, and rushed towards the fat naked man. The naked man was dazzled and kept blocking. However, the attack speed was too fast, and he couldn't dodge it. He parried and blocked. In an instant, a sword shadow flashed by. The fat naked man was split in half. The tall naked man on the other side saw this scene, was scared into a cold sweat, and trembled constantly. Lin San followed with a murderous look. He turned to the tall naked man. He would be the next target. The naked man no longer had the arrogance of the past, and began to tremble. Will Lin San let the arrogant Earth Dragon man go? To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. This man is the lord of a city, but in front of Africans he acts like a grandson. The naked man tried to calm down, waving his weapon to scold Lin San. Don't you know your humble status? He actually killed the Earth Dragon man. Lin San's eyes are still sharp, and ignored it at all. At this time, the red energy wrapped around the sword turned half red, and half dark. Could it be that Lin San is going to fall into the devil? Which is truly unpredictable. Seeing that Lin San showed no sign of restraint, Naked Crazy said that the Earth Dragon man and the city lord, and they would make his whole family die without a burial. Facing another hysterical threat, Lin San rushed over without hesitation. Naked Crazy only had the ability to defend in the fierce attack. As the weapons kept colliding, there were many cracks in the naked man's blade. Lin San understood that the gap between weapons is the key to victory. Then he used the Sky Sword technique. He attacked quickly. With the sharpness of the weapon, he kept bombarding the cracks in the opponent's weapon, with the sparks constantly bursting out. Finally, in the next moment, the Naked Crazy's weapon withstood the power it shouldn't have endured, and it directly burst into pieces. Lin San slashed it with his sword. Instantly, he chopped off the exposed man's right hand. Naked Crazy screamed and groaned, and kept retreating. Lin San relentlessly charged towards him, the naked man with a terrified face. But it was too late to beg for mercy. With a flash of sword light, Lin San launched Phantom Dance. He instantly split his body into countless pieces, ending the sinful life of the nudist. Seeing that he had solved these people, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Since he killed a Earth Dragon, he had to leave the scene quickly. Soon, Lin San returned to the new city business firm. He sold the 2 7-star 1 gold crystals, and sold them for 30,000 gold coins. Facing the high acquisition price, Lin San was also very glad. If it were in other places, he would not have sold it at this price. The boss was also discerning. He saw the sword at a glance, and wanted to buy it at a high price. I said, life is never short of beauty, but a lack of eyes to discover beauty. My gold is always so dazzling wherever I am. The camera turns, He came to the city lord's mansion. He learned that his 2 companions had been killed. Andrew, Earth Dragon man with the same skin color as Africans, was furious. He directly blamed the city lord. The mayor was like a grandson in front of the Earth Dragon. He said softly, he arranged the best experts. He didn't expect this to happen. Hearing this, the black man became even angrier, thinking the mayor was mocking their weakness. The mayor was terrified and hurriedly flattered them. The black man couldn't listen to the sweet words. He slapped the table, demanding that the mayor bring the murderer to him immediately. He must let him know what the consequences of offending the Earth Dragon people, since the incident happened in the wild, and no clues were left behind, so the mayor begged for a few more days. As soon as he finished speaking, the black man grabbed the mayor's neck and lifted him high. Since no murderer was found, he would make the mayor and the whole city pay. The mayor struggled in pain and promised to fulfill the request. The black man then let go and put him down and looked at him with murderous eyes. Whether Lin San can escape the pursuit. To know the future development, please look forward to the sequel. The explanation ends here, and you can submit your application for free. Step 1. Like this post. Step 2. Comment with some emojis. Step 3. Share with at least one friend. Step 4. Submit your application here. The link is in the messages section. Good luck everyone!